Just before 5 a.m. on March 20th, 2020, 4-year-old Kylie, 7-year-old Elysium, 13-year-old Ethan, and their mother Felina Lewis drowned when their van got swept away by floodwaters on Sains Creek Bridge. Burton Spurlock and Sean Roberts went off the same bridge and died that morning. After 6 people got swept away, Franklin County Highway employee Donnie Grizel also went into the creek just after 6 a.m. That's his black Jeep.
911, where's your emergency?
I ran my Jeep into the creek on Sains Creek Road because the bridge is totally out. So I'm wondering if I need to stay with my Jeep or can I just go on to work or
Preferably stay with your vehicle.
He survived, and at approximately 7:45 a.m., Grizel's supervisor, Kent Ruff, called the sheriff's department to tell them a deputy had still not responded.
This Kent, Franklin County Highway.
Hello.
One of my drivers is down in Salt Creek, or Sains Creek Bridge here. And the other dispatcher told him to wait till one of the deputies arrived. I need my man.
Is the officer there?
No, we've been here for 2 hours.
They weren't the only ones to call for help. As WRTV Investigates reported last month, 3 people called Franklin County 911 and the sheriff's department before 6 people were swept away by floodwaters and died.
911, where's your emergency? Sains Creek Road is flooded. Okay, is there an emergency? Is there somebody stuck? No, we just see someone coming down the hill. They turned around, but yeah, it's flooded bad. The bridge here on Sains Creek, at the bottom of Sains Creek Hill, is completely washed out. It's gone on one side. Somebody better get down here and block it off before somebody goes into the river.
The water is so deep. He drives a red GMC truck.
Okay.
He said the water is so deep it was halfway up his headlights, and it is moving very fast, and it almost took him down the creek.
Despite warning calls, court documents allege Franklin County did not dispatch a sheriff's deputy or county highway crew to block off the road. WRTV Investigates has learned new information on just how close help may have been. Highway Department worker Donnie Grizel lives here on Sains Creek Road. So we're at the county employee's house. We're now going to measure from his house down to the bridge. We drove from his house to the bridge. So 2.3 miles, 4 minutes.
From the station working for you, this is breaking news from WRTV.
Investigators in reference to 8951 Maribel Road. Be advised, another caller heard 10 shots from near the front of the entrance. Caller says possibly from inside. No further seen or heard. Less than 1 minute ago.
We continue to follow a horrific scene on the city's southwest side. 8 people killed by an active shooting at a FedEx ground facility near the airport. Thank you for joining us. I'm Megan Shin on this tough and tragic morning. We'll check in for your weather and traffic update with Todd Clausen in just a few minutes. But first, we need to check in with our Rafael Sanchez to get us up to speed on this still developing mass shooting in the city's southwest side. Raf.
Megan, people running for cover, people running for their lives. Chaos and fear overtook this scene, and when the gunfire was over, 8 people were found dead. I can tell you right now that police remain on the scene investigating this situation here at the FedEx ground building here on the city's southwest side. Let me show you exactly where we are reporting this morning. This situation continues to unfold as we continue to follow this breaking news story right here on WRTV. We are on the 8,000 block of Maribel Road. We're just about 3 miles away from Indianapolis International Airport. From here to the airport is just an 8-minute drive. But from this location, where this is now unfolding, of course, people began calling 911 for help shortly after 11 p.m. Police receiving calls from not only inside the building, but outside, also receiving calls from the interstate system. People reporting that there was a situation unfolding inside of this building. We can also tell you from what sources are telling me that people inside the building were just hiding. They were in any place that they could, underneath the conveyor belts, in any corner of the building that they could, as they heard those gunshots erupt inside of that building. In the end, police are telling WRTV Investigates that the suspect died by suicide. They are describing what they say a weapon was found by the man's body. That weapon is being described to WRTV Investigates as a long gun. We'll continue to follow those developments throughout the morning as this story continues to unfold. Our focus is not only on the investigation. That's just part of the story. Our bigger focus is on the people, the families. And with that part of our coverage, now let's turn to WRTV's Troy Washington. Troy, what can you tell us?
Well, for those that are just joining us, we're here at the Holiday Inn Express on Stansted, and if you do have a loved one who works at that FedEx facility and you haven't heard from them, they want you to come here. They're actually answering a lot of the questions here, and maybe they can kind of guide you in the right direction. Now, for hours, a lot of the family members were here. They were waiting for answers just to find out what was going on with their loved ones, or even to learn if they were okay. So a lot of them showed up here at that Holiday Inn Express. It's near the airport on Stansted. If you're still looking for your loved one, they want you to come here. Maybe they can help lead you in the right direction or give you some answers. Now, as soon as I showed up around 1 a.m., I talked with the grandmother. She was in her car, and she was clearly worried as she started to tell me that she, on the way here, prayed the entire drive. Here's what she had to say.
I was listening to on the radio on her phone. I was putting on my clothes as soon as I heard it, and she was coming down the stairs. We got to go, we got to go, we got to go, we got to go. I didn't ask her why. I just got in, got my stuff and got in, and she told me. I said, oh, my God. So we're here to see. I hope, God, that he's not injured, and I hope a whole lot of other people are not injured either, but we don't know.
Now, a lot of these relatives, they have been waiting here for hours, and a lot of that started around midnight. A lot of people coming in here to the hotel, pacing, praying, worrying, wondering, just wanting some answers to their questions. And as we continue to learn more about these victims, I'm sure that we'll continue to learn more about some of the people who have not even been accounted for. Like I said, there's an investigation going on, and some of those employees were still being questioned. But here at the hotel, they've been fielding a lot of calls from people who are calling here and inquiring about where they should go and how they should get any answers to their questions. So again, I just want people to know, if you are searching for your loved one, they want you to come here to Stansted near the airport, the Holiday Inn Express. Back to you, Raphael.
What heartbreak, what worry for so many families. And of course, Troy, we will keep on top of this developing situation with the families. Troy, thank you so much for that. You know, the big question this morning is, who is the guy behind this mass shooting? And I have to tell you, working our sources, we don't have a name just yet. But you can imagine that in the next several hours or so, police will release that information. This remains an active investigation. And Kelsey, we've been watching social media. We've been watching our Twitter feeds and Facebook. That's the biggest question. Who is responsible? We just don't know a name just yet.
That's right, Raphael. We've put out several tweets this morning giving people updates. And the number one response we're getting is, who is it? And again, that's just something we don't know right now.
This place is all about families. And this mother and daughter are a dynamic duo. They're upbeat, unapologetic about their passion for their faith and their unconditional love for each other and their family across the country.
This is their escape. An endless stretch of surf and sand along the Gulf of Mexico. Fort Walton Beach, Florida, is where this mother and daughter relax and re-energize with family.
But we just love hanging out, going to the beach together.
I could not be more happy. I could not be more joyful. I couldn't be more blessed.
Jade Carrero and her mother, Shannon Walcott Radden, suffered severe injuries at the State Fair stage collapse. Shannon spent 2 weeks in the hospital mending broken bones.
Those obstacles taught me so much about turning over every leaf, turning over every opportunity that's out there for you, and being sure that you don't stop when the first door closes.
Jade needed 7 weeks of medical care to recover from a traumatic brain injury.
I was connected to tubes or something. They were debating whether or not I was going to live, what to do next. The doctor that was over me, she said, no, we're gonna figure this out. We're gonna do what we need to do to figure out, because this girl, like, she's gonna live.
For both, the physical and emotional healing took years. From their experience, they now empower and excite many others about fitness and faith.
Praise the Son, the one and only Son, who takes my sin away.
Jade is a singer working on a Christian-based album. After attending Bible college in 2018, she later gave her life to the Lord. She now serves as a worship leader at Blueprints Church in West Palm Beach.
To fulfill the law and prophets, to a virgin came the word. From a throne of endless glory to a cradle in the dirt.
I get to do everything that I feel like the Lord has created me for, He has called me for, and really, it doesn't get any better than that.
She shares her passion for music ministry with her favorite guy, Luke. They tied the knot on August 7th, 2020.
It is really amazing to be able to share so many things with the person that I get to spend the rest of my life with.
Hi guys, Shannon here with Shadow Fitness.
Her mother, Shannon, connects with people online, encouraging them to lead healthier lives through cycling.
We have 10 bikes available.
For Shannon, cycling was one of the few activities she could do while recovering from her injuries.
You shouldn't just get into fitness because you just want to get your 30 minutes in and be finished. It needs to be something that you enjoy, that you're immersed in. It should be an experience.
We rode 52 miles from Dayton to Cincinnati in honor of our fallen first responders and military personnel.
And I really want people to be on the bike or be on a treadmill and be enjoying their life.
The scenic view of the beach behind me is an image that they enjoy the most. They still think of those images from 10 years ago at the Indiana State Fair when the stage collapsed. They have a message for the first responders and all those that came to their rescue.
Wow, thank you for running into the fire and not away.
They really showed that they were in our corner and they really did want to help us. And that is just so amazing to know that without them, we may not be here.
Life, like the waves, is unpredictable, full of highs and lows. And because of that, Shannon and Jade exercise the right to faithfully make a difference.
Don't give up and just keep pushing, because you're gonna see the breakthrough. There is a breakthrough waiting for you.
So compassion is definitely my first go-to. The second go-to is simply that I know you can do this. I don't know how you're gonna do this. I'm here to hold your hand and help you, but I know you can become a warrior of this situation.
Shannon has also started a non-for-profit. It's called Race on Fire. It's all about sharing positivity and supporting change around the world.
Up until 1980, Latinos in Indiana in the United States have been statistically invisible. So looking at different reports, there wasn't anything that you can pick up and say, oh, these communities live here.
New at 11, an effort to shine a light on Circle City history and what was lost when thousands of buildings were torn down decades ago to make way for interstates. Our Two Americas series is shining a light on stories and histories of the America you know and the America you might not. WRTV's Amber Grigley takes us to a community from the past that had its future forever altered by a massive project meant to connect the country.
These were all houses up and down both sides of the street.
Just imagine moving to a country with little to nothing for a better life.
There was only maybe 1,000 Hispanics in the Indianapolis area when I was growing up, and we all knew each other.
Only to have everything your family built stripped away for an infrastructure project. Well, that's the experience of the first Hispanic community here in the Circle City.
They were upset, and my dad tried to fight it, but, he couldn't. The government wins.
That community, now known as the Los Barrio Spanish for neighborhood. Beginning in the 1920s, a small community of Mexican Americans lived in the area of North, Davidson, Pine, and Market Streets on the east side of downtown Indianapolis.
As an adult, you look back and you think of all the times, the fun times you had in this area, and your schoolmates, other friends and family, and we were all a close-knit group. And we didn't understand why we had to move away, other than the fact the highway was coming through. That's all we knew.
People living in the Los Barrio community were among nearly 17,000 Indianapolis residents displaced by highway construction. According to Nicole Martinez-Legrand, Indiana Historical Society's Multicultural Collections Coordinator, the construction was part of an infrastructure boom of new highways and interstates in the mid to late 1960s.
A lot of people were displaced, but they moved to different areas. So it was kind of staggered out in which they have all left. The Espinoza family was one of the last holdouts because of, they had their business.
Husband and wife Feliciano and Maria Espinoza and their 8 children lived in a multi-story house on East North Street. Feliciano worked for a railroad company and was able to plant roots here with his family, living the American dream.
My dad was very into helping the community and doing things like that, so he was pretty well known for those reasons.
Beyond his community service, Feliciano and his wife operated what is known as the first Mexican grocery store, El Nopal Market. It was located in front of their home.
After they lost the store, they did have a stand in the city market for a while. And so they sold merchandise through there, Mexican things and Cuban foods and things like that.
Though the market continued, the Espinosas left their home behind.
I was still in high school at the time, but I think the people just accepted it because, it's the government telling you to do something, and so you just accept it. And I don't know if they got a fair market value for their homes. I really don't know that. I know we went into a much, much smaller home. The house we lived in there on North Street had 2 kitchens and several bedrooms and bathrooms and everything. The house we moved into on Highland was one tiny little house with maybe 3 bedrooms. And we had 8 kids and 2 adults, so there were 10 people in the family.
Both Connie and Reynaldo Riojas tell me they were too young at the time, but remember a fast transition between leaving their homes and the start of the new interstate project.
It's pretty tough. I come back earlier, a couple of weeks ago, and looked around and tried to remember how things were because it's a different place.
History wiped away for the city's interstate system.
I don't look at it as just a neighborhood. I think it is a large extended family and people who, have created wonderful memories and have contributed a lot to Indianapolis.
For years, these stories about the Los Barrio have been omitted.
That's kind of frustration in research that a lot of people do who do Latin American research in the United States. It's most surprising because it also does not exist physically, in the physical sense. There is still a vibrant community of people who live there who are still connected, who are lifelong friends. And that's one way that the barrio still lives here in Indianapolis.
Last year, Martinez-Legrand began shedding light on this community, bringing together former residents and allowing their truth to shine as an important part of Indianapolis history.
It impacted everybody on a personal level. We all have a little bit of a scar from everything that happened out here.
History that influences Indiana's Hispanic community to this day.
I think it's tenacity, right? And so, how can I be a better parent to my children? How can I be a better person? How can I make my own business? How can I bring more money to my family? It's a lot of these different things. And I think that just kind of, everything else, the benefits of that just kind of go hand in hand.
Working for you, I'm Amber Grigley, WRTV.
In celebration of Black History, WRTV is creating a special focus, one that we want to carry on in the future. Thanks for joining us. I'm Nicole Griffin, and this work is part of our We're Open Indy series, an effort to highlight Indiana business owners, the challenges they are facing, and their continued fight to stay open during the pandemic. Right now, I'm going to introduce you to two sisters who are working hard to help Hoosiers with their hospitality.
From the outside, this may look like an ordinary house, but for these two sisters, the memories they have made here over the years is what sparked the foundation and passion for their business, Yellow House Vibes.
We got the name from our grandmother. So our entire life, she lived in a yellow house. We spent a lot of time, with her.
Rika and Kian Macklin both have day jobs, but at night, you can find them here at their late grandmother's home in Shelbyville.
Everybody was welcome in her house. It didn't matter if you were homeless. She's had homeless people taken in. She's had rich corporate billionaires at her table. And nobody was ever treated differently.
The Macklin sisters are now sharing the hospitality principles they learned from their grandmother through their website, blog, and seasonal cookbooks.
A lot of what we're about is really teaching a lot of cooking and how to perfect our recipes and just become more natural cooks.
They launched their business over the summer in 2020. During the pandemic, their main focus has been on the cookbooks and their seasoning blends. Some of their recipe ideas pay tribute to their grandmother.
For instance, her fried chicken, she loved to do fried chicken and turn it into next day smothered chicken and, stuff like that. So we do actually put a lot of Your Box catering recipes in the cookbook as well. So there's a creamy chicken and noodles that everyone really loved. The brown butter mashed potatoes, sweet potato pie.
With farmers markets and the Indiana Black Expo getting canceled during the pandemic, business has been impacted. But the Macklin sisters say the community inside and outside of Shelbyville continues to show up and support them.
I think once you also serve your community well and get involved, because both Ken and I are very active in the community, and so you get to know people, and I think, you kind of reap the benefits of also not just being a business, really being a part of the community.
The sisters are now working on a combined spring and summer cookbook and hope to release new products this year as they continue to honor their grandmother.
On WRTV.com, under our Black History Month section, you can find this entire story, which will connect you to Yellow House Vibes website. Our app and website are where you can find other stories we have done on local Black-owned businesses. This entire project was launched by WRTV's Shakira Harris, who has championed not only local business, but had the idea to pull the focus even closer on this group. We want to thank Shakira for all of her hard work on this project.
Chaos ends in tragedy. 8 dead, multiple injured after a man opened fire at a FedEx facility on the west side.
I was horrified. We have family who works there, and so that my first thought was to get a hold of them and make sure that they're okay.
Family and friends left searching for loved ones.
I don't know if my friend's alive, if she's okay.
And as the sun came up today, investigators still trying to answer the big question, why?
Now at 6, team coverage showing the impact this mass shooting is having on our community, and new information about the suspect in the case. And the one thing everyone needs to hear.
It's very difficult, but it's so important to reach out if you need the help and to allow people to support you.
Heartbreak in Indianapolis. 8 people killed at the FedEx facility on the west side of Indianapolis after a man opened fire late last night. That suspect killed himself.
And now investigators are trying to figure out how and why this tragedy happened. But here's what we're learning now. IMPD has identified the suspect in this case as 19-year-old Brandon Scott Hole. He's a former employee at the FedEx Ground Operations Center off Mirabel Road in Indianapolis. That's not far from Indianapolis International Airport. He was last employed at the facility in 2020, according to IMPD. Right now, detectives are scouring his social media and electronics to help determine the motive. Detectives also searched his home today. Again, police say he is the suspect accused of killing 8 people at that FedEx building late last night. IMPD says it appears Hull began firing randomly outside the facility and then entered the building where he continued shooting. 4 people were found dead outside and another 4 were killed inside the FedEx facility. At least 5 people were hospitalized with injuries. Their conditions and details about their injuries have not been released. About 100 employees were in the vicinity of the facility at the time of the shooting, according to FedEx. None of the victims have been identified. And tonight, this picture just coming in of the suspect, 19-year-old Brandon Scott Hull. Again, police believe he is the man responsible for killing 8 people at FedEx.
Team coverage showing how the mass shooting is impacting our community today. We begin with Megan Sanctorum at a Holiday Inn near the crime scene where families spent hours waiting for information. The story of a woman searching for her husband.
It's been a very heavy and emotional day here at the Holiday Inn as families wait to hear if their loved ones are okay.
Terrible. Terrible, the fear.
The fear of the unknown is what many families here today are dealing with.
It's just the waiting that just kills you.
Mary Carol Weisert is here with family. She says her husband works for FedEx, and as of this afternoon, she still hadn't heard from him.
I mean, at least we have each other, but when I was home by myself, before they came to get me, it was just, I didn't know how I was gonna, just so nervous and scared and everything.
Weisert tells me her husband worked last night and was supposed to get off around 10 o'clock. She said they get their paychecks on Thursday, so she knew he was going to pick his up after his shift and maybe getting home a little late because of that. But as hours went by, she started to worry. To complicate things, employees at this FedEx facility are not allowed to bring cell phones inside to work. That's why so many families have been unable to contact their loved ones.
I'm not really sure exactly what the situation was with the shooter or anything, but not knowing the story or what was behind it or anything. But my first thought was that this country really needs to pay a lot more strong attention to mental health issues that are going on, because there are a lot of people that are untreated, or maybe they're not getting the right type of treatment, and people are just dismissing it like it's nothing. And I think that we're really seeing a lot of this in the last decade, that it's unnecessary, it doesn't need to happen, but unfortunately people suffer and they don't know how to deal with it, so they act out inappropriately, and then things like this happen, and then we're all hurting.
Hurting, frustrated, and just waiting for word their family member is okay.
And it's scary, especially because you see it in other places and you think, gee, that's terrible. But when it happens in your own backyard, it seems a little closer to home. It's one of the worst days for all of us.
Megan Sanctorum, WRTV.
Who in the world would do some stuff like that? I mean, there's enough shootings going on in this world, but we don't need this. For what? It don't make any sense.
WRTV's Stephanie Wade brings us the stories of more families and the hell they've gone through over the past 19 or so hours.
It was a chaotic night last night as families became aware of the nightmare that took place at the FedEx facility just 3 miles from where I am right now. Police were sending families here to the Holiday Inn who had not yet heard from their loved ones.
Dispatch units in reference to 8951 Maribel Road. Be advised, another caller heard 10 shots from near the front of the entrance. Caller says possibly from inside.
Several 911 calls detail this scene shortly after 11 p.m.
And I have a female who's in a control room who advised the subject is still shooting. She does not have a visual. We can hear the shot. This is awful. This is awful.
Multiple people shot inside this FedEx facility.
Additional callers stated there's possible person shot laying near security in the front entrance of the building.
Just something in my gut told me something was wrong tonight. I just didn't know what.
Families of the employees who work there rushing to this Holiday Inn.
She was coming down the stairs. We got to go, we got to go, we got to go, we got to go. It's just been crazy, hectic. No one knows anything.
Worried, sick, just waiting to hear if their loved one was alive.
I just hope to God he okay.
It's very scary. I ended up, calling or sending a message to my boss. I'm like, I don't know if my friend's alive. She's okay.
An employee who was working in a different area when the shooting happened
told us that basically the highways are closed off and we just had to stay inside.
Having to hide in a break room, he says.
It's nerve-wracking, were they going to come to our job or what was going to go on? It's a lot, the process.
Thankfully, Jose Lara made it out safely.
I'm just happy he's alive. I'm happy he's okay.
Other families who were unable to see their loved one as quickly frantic and frustrated, especially because they tell us employees are unable to have their cell phones while working. So no one was able to make contact with them.
I hope, God, that he's not injured, and I hope a whole lot of other people are not injured either, but we don't know.
A lot of these people are so, they're upset. They don't know if their loved ones are alive or hurt or anything because they can't take their phones in there.
This woman, Vanessa, saying her partner is safe and hopeful others are too.
I'm so thankful that Jonna is okay. And like I said, my heart goes out to them. I don't know. I've never experienced anything like this, and I cannot imagine what they're going through.
Stephanie Wade, WRTV.
FedEx has issued the following statement to ABC News, confirming that some areas of the FedEx ground field operations facilities restrict cell phone access, saying, quote, to minimize potential distractions around package sortation equipment and dock operations, cell phone access within certain areas of FedEx ground field operations is limited to authorized team members, end quote. And we have learned that Sikh community members are among those who were killed and injured during last night's shooting. A member of their community was praying for the families who were still waiting to hear about their loved ones.
As just a community member, I can't imagine, what the real families who are waiting inside, what they're going through, because they have sent their folks for work. It's just, our heart goes to them. And really, I really can't explain in my own words what they're going through. So it's going to be a long process.
Although there are victims from the Sikh community in this case, police have not said the shooter was targeting them.
Want to give you a live look right now from our WRTV Skycam at the FedEx building on Mirabel Road. Again, that's on the west side near the airport. IMPD, state police, the coroner's office, and the FBI, they're all working, trying to figure out the motive behind the shooting that left 8 people dead. As families counted the minutes waiting to hear if their loved ones were okay, support was there to help them through the tragedy. Our Alyssa Donovan is live at the FedEx facility telling us about the group committed to being a presence of comfort through the hardest moments of people's lives. And there was a big call out for them too, Alyssa.
That's right, Mark. And as you said, I am still here at the facility right now. It is an active scene. Police are continuing to investigate this shooting where 8 people were killed on the southwest side of Indianapolis. We do know that the coroner is on scene. They allowed that person on site around 1:30 this afternoon to help with the identification of these victims. We don't know their names yet, and they are working to contact families as well. Police do tell us they believe all the survivors from this incident have been reunited with their families at this time, but we spoke with a chaplain who was there waiting with their families. He described it as heartbreaking.
It is, hard to see parents and loved ones and family members and friends crying because the unknown.
IMPD staff chaplain Orlando Jordan Jr., one of 5 chaplains comforting families at a nearby hotel as they waited to learn more details about the shooting and connect with their loved ones.
We've been with families all night, all morning, as they have come and in need for information, as they've come and been in need for comfort and prayer.
People waiting for hours as police continued to conduct their investigation. The coroner's office allowed on scene around 1:30 this afternoon to start the process of identifying the victims. The officers first to arrive at the facility after the shooting, walking into a horrific scene.
Our IMPD officers went towards danger, as they typically do. And when they arrived on the scene, they found something that really no one should see.
Those officers also on Chaplain Jordan's list of people to check in on.
We have made sure we reached out to officers and make sure that those that have been on scene, that we're reaching out to them and making sure that they're doing okay as well.
Jordan is no stranger to tragedy. This is his job, comforting families impacted by violence. An Indy native, he never expected to be comforting families after a mass shooting like this.
And everyone takes on the thought process that it'll never be their city, it'll never be their town. And then when it happens, it's kind of shell-shocking.
And the coroner's office tell us they are going to continue working to identify those 8 victims of this shooting here in Indianapolis. They also said they'll be bringing in extra staff to move that along more quickly. They hope to have those identifications completed in the next 48 to 72 hours. Reporting live, I'm Alyssa Donovan, WRTV.
And we are glad they were there. Thank you, Alyssa. For some additional perspective now, last night's mass shooting at the FedEx facility is the 3rd mass shooting in Indianapolis in 2021, and we're not even 4 full months into the year. And as a point of reference, a mass shooting is defined as 4 or more people killed in a single event. Back on January 24th, 5 people were killed in a shooting on the 3500 block of Adams Street on the northeast side, not far from East 38th Street. Then a little more than a month ago, on March 13th, 4 people were killed in the 300 block of North Randolph Street. That's on the east side. And then last night, as we've reported extensively, a man went to the FedEx warehouse on Mirabel Road, that's on the west side, and killed 8 people.
You start thinking about what is going on in these people's lives to make them want to do this. And so for me, it goes back to the mental health.
As news continues to develop connected to the mass shooting at FedEx, we are checking in with members of our community tonight. After 3 mass shootings in Indianapolis this year, we want to know how people are feeling, where they are mentally, and what help is available for those having a tough time. WRTV's Nicole Griffin continues our team coverage tonight.
This is the first WRTV breaking news alert that was pushed out just before midnight last night.
My heart literally dropped, not only for, those that they have already said had passed away, but, also for the trauma of those that are still in the building and not knowing, where that suspect was.
As the news continues to develop throughout the day Friday, notifying community members of yet another mass shooting in Indianapolis, the feelings and emotions are heavy.
Unbelievable. Especially at a work site.
Terrifying. It's awful.
I went completely numb. And I think that because we're in a community and we're in an environment that's all we hear about.
When you see all these national mass shootings happening across America or across the world, you'll never think it take place in your own backyard.
After a year of losing loved ones due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the mental toll it's taken on so many, waking up Friday to news of 8 lives taken in the 3rd mass shooting in the city this year has community members saying there has to be a better way to solve problems or deal with anger.
What is happening and why can't we get a grasp of this? And it's so frustrating and it's exhausting mentally, physically, emotionally.
I feel for these families who I don't know, and, their lives have been rocked.
Until we get to the root causes of why people are killing each other, why these mass shootings are taking places. When you think about every situation, it's a situation that deals with mental health and trauma.
As the pandemic continues, Community Health Network's behavioral health unit is seeing a record number of people seeking mental health and addiction services, the highest number since the mental health service line started in the 70s.
This is not the time to be shy about 2 things. 1, asking for help, or telling someone that you have a concern about them. We are human beings. Everybody can use a little tune-up here or there, and it's okay. It doesn't mean you're weak.
On a day when emotions are hard to handle and the entire community is in pain, there is hope for these community members I spoke with that we can all come together.
Let's just learn how to communicate. I know it ain't gonna happen overnight, but some of these little problems that's been had, it can be solved by my fault, yes sir, no ma'am.
It's tragic, and I don't think one organization or one mental institution can help bring these numbers down that we're seeing here in Indianapolis. It's going to be a together thing.
Working for you in Indianapolis, Nicole Griffin, WRTV.
The mental health counselor we spoke with says right now is a good time to lean on your support networks and stay connected. If you are having a tough time, sometimes you may not know what to say to those who are grieving or dealing with mental health issues, but he says your presence means more than you know. 211 is a resource and referrals hotline, but they also have a mental crisis hotline. If you don't know where to go for mental health services or what professional is appropriate for you, call 211 and they can help. Also, the group Purpose for My Pain is a resource for families impacted by gun violence. You can email them at purposeformypain@yahoo.com. Tomorrow they are holding a vigil at 1 p.m. at Olivet Missionary Baptist Church. That is at 4141 North High School Road. And they want to encourage mental health counselors to come out from all across the community to offer their support and provide resources.
Tonight, some are demanding change when it comes to guns and background checks after the mass shooting at FedEx. What we're learning about that effort tonight. The mass shooting that left 8 people dead is prompting renewed calls for change at a state and national level when it comes to background checks and guns.
WRTV Investigates Kara Kenny joins us now with the effort underway.
Just this week, Mayor Joe Hogsett and 150 other mayors sent this letter to the U.S. Senate urging them to take action on gun violence prevention. After what happened at FedEx, this conversation is now at the forefront. Moms Demand Action's Indiana chapter and Mayor Hogsett are among those Friday calling on Congress to consider legislation that would expand background checks. In Indiana, someone can buy a gun through a private seller without a background check.
A federal bill would help close that so that all sales are receiving a background check.
Guy Relford is a certified firearms instructor.
Making good people helpless does not make bad people less harmful and so or less dangerous.
He expects the FedEx shooting will create an increase in gun sales and people seeking gun training.
Anytime people are concerned about having their rights restricted or their access to firearms restricted, a lot of times people will react to that by saying, well, I want to make sure that I purchase anything I'm interested in purchasing before those restrictions go into place.
Relford says many companies do not allow workers to bring weapons to work and sometimes even forbid them from locking them inside their vehicles.
Employees ought to be given the right to defend themselves or that security ought to be provided by an employer. And I think that's where I'd be focusing.
Moms Demand Action is urging the U.S. Senate to take action immediately and expand background checks.
We need more than thoughts and prayers. They're welcomed, but we need action.
Between COVID-19 and the looting and civil unrest in downtown Indianapolis, the city has already seen an uptick in gun license applications. Working for you, Kara Kenny, WRTV.
FedEx did report the incident to IOSHA. We've learned IOSHA is conducting a safety compliance inspection to determine if FedEx complied with state and federal regulations.